Even the gods lowered their eyes before him. A king lost his throne to a force no army could fight. A god's own son turned to ash from a single glance. Even Ravana, who once made heaven itself bow at his feet, could not escape him. He is not worshipped out of love. He is worshipped out of fear. This is the story of the only god who cannot be bribed, begged, or rushed. Shani Dev, the lord of karma. But before he became feared, he was simply unwanted. He had conquered everything. Kingdoms, rivals, distance itself. His treasury overflowed. His name was sung in 5 languages. His enemies had stopped calling themselves enemies. They simply called themselves subjects. And yet, on this one night, the king could not sleep. Outside his chamber, 10,000 soldiers stood guard. Inside the palace walls, servants waited on his every breath. But none of them could stop what was coming, because what was coming carried no sword, wore no armor, and answered to no general. It moved the way a season moves, slowly, without apology, without exception. His astrologers had seen it days ago. They had checked the charts twice, hoping for an error. There was no error. When they finally entered the throne room, none of them would meet his eyes. Finally, the eldest spoke, and his voice did not sound like a man delivering news. It sounded like a man delivering a verdict. Shani has entered your house. The room went cold. Not because Shani was a demon. He was not. Not because Shani was cruel. He was not that either. The room went cold because Shani was something far rarer in this universe, and far harder to survive. He was exact. Other gods could be moved by devotion, by sacrifice, by a single well-timed prayer. Shani moved by ledger. And a ledger does not care how much you loved it. This is the story of how that ledger got a face. Long before he was feared, Shani was simply unwanted. To understand why, we have to go to the house of his father, a house built entirely out of light. Surya, the sun, radiated a brilliance that no mortal eye, and very few immortal ones, could look upon directly. He married Sanjana, daughter of the celestial architect Vishwakarma, a woman of extraordinary will. But even her will had limits. Standing beside Surya day after day was like standing beside a furnace that never cooled. So Sanjana did something no wife had attempted before. She created a double of herself, a being formed from her own shadow, given enough of her essence to walk, speak, and serve in her place. She called this shadow self Chhaya, and she asked one thing of her: be me until I return. Then Sanjana left for her father's house, disguised, to undergo her own penance in solitude, away from the heat she could no longer bear. Surya never noticed the substitution. Years passed. Chhaya bore him children. Among them, one son arrived with skin the color of a monsoon cloud, dark where his father was blinding, still where his father was fire. His name was Shani. Surya looked at this child and felt something he had never felt toward his other sons: doubt. How could brilliance produce darkness? The question lodged itself in him like a splinter, and instead of asking it gently, he answered it with distance. Shani grew up in his father's house as a stranger grows up in someone else's home, fed, but not welcomed, present, but not seen. Meanwhile, a second wound was forming. Chhaya, raising her own children alongside Sanjana's, began to favor her own blood. Yama, Sanjana's son, felt the imbalance long before he understood it. One day, in a flash of boyish fury at being treated as less, he raised his foot toward the woman he believed was his mother. Chhaya did not forgive the gesture. She cursed him on the spot. His leg would wither and rot. The curse was so disproportionate to the offense that even Surya, distant as he was, sensed something false in it. A true mother does not curse her child's leg over a moment of temper. He confronted Chhaya. The shadow could not hold the lie any longer, and the truth spilled out. She was not Sanjana. She had never been. Surya eventually found his real wife and restored her to her place. The household was repaired, except for one person. Shani had already absorbed every year of his father's coldness. He had watched his mother's love divide unevenly between her children. Shani walked until the forest thinned into rock, and the rock rose into mountains too cold for most living things. There, he began his penance. He did not eat for the sake of eating. He did not sleep for the sake of resting. Winters came and found him motionless beneath ice. Summers came and found him unmoved beneath open fire. Years folded into decades. His body grew gaunt. His stillness grew absolute. He was not asking Shiva for power. He was asking for something rarer, purpose, a reason for the rejection, a use for the silence he had been forced to grow inside. When Shiva finally appeared, it was not with comfort, but with appointment. You shall not rule through fire, like your father. You shall rule through time. You will move slower than every other planet in the heavens, because true justice cannot be rushed. You will touch every soul eventually, king and beggar alike. And when you do, you will not ask who they were. You will only ask what they did. With that, Shani was given his place among the Navagrahas, the 9 celestial influences that govern fate. He was given dominion over karma's delivery, not its creation, only its arrival. He was given the slowest orbit of all, nearly 30 years to complete a single circuit, because the soul takes that long to fully reveal what it has built. Shani's power did not stay theoretical for long. When Parvati gave birth to Ganesha, she invited every celestial being to come and bless the child. Shani hesitated. He knew what his own eyes carried now, not malice, but consequence. He asked to be excused. Parvati, delighted with her newborn and unaware of the weight behind Shani's request, insisted. A mother wanting all of heaven to admire her son does not easily accept a refusal. Shani relented. He entered the chamber, and out of respect, kept his eyes lowered. But under pressure to acknowledge the child properly, he finally looked up, just once, toward the infant. In that single glance, Ganesha's head turned to ash. It was not cruelty. It was not even intention. It was simply what Shani's sight did now, unfiltered, the moment it landed directly on something. Vishnu intervened, replacing the lost head with that of an elephant, and the world gained one of its most beloved deities in a form born directly out of this incident. The lesson spread through the heavens faster than the story itself. Shani's power was not a weapon he chose to use. It was a force of nature he had to learn to carry carefully, the way a man learns to carry fire without becoming a fire starter. If Ganesha's story showed Shani's power, the story of King Vikramaditya showed his fairness. Vikramaditya, proud of his own righteousness, openly doubted that any planet could touch a truly virtuous ruler. Word of this reached Shani, who decided the claim deserved a direct answer, not out of insult, but out of principle. If devotion or virtue could simply cancel karma, the entire structure of justice would mean nothing. So Shani entered the king's chart. What followed was not punishment in the way mortals understand it. There was no lightning bolt, no sudden death. Instead, the king's fortune unraveled slowly. He lost his throne. He was falsely accused. He wandered, unrecognized, through the very kingdom he once ruled, enduring humiliation that would have broken most men into bitterness. Vikramaditya did not break. Through every loss, he kept his conduct honest. He kept his word, even when keeping it cost him everything he had left. When his trial ended, Shani appeared before him, not as an enemy revealed, but as a judge satisfied. I did not do this to destroy you. I did this because you claimed virtue without yet earning the proof of it. Now you have the proof. Everything the king had lost was returned to him, multiplied. The story spread across courts and kingdoms for centuries afterward, and it carried one unmistakable warning to every ruler who heard it. This is what separates Shani from almost every other power in the heavens. A king can defeat an army. A sage can outlast a curse. Even Ravana, at the height of his strength, is remembered in old tellings as having once humbled the 9 celestial grahas, forcing them beneath his throne in a show of dominance. But forcing Shani to bow his head changes nothing about what Shani records. Karma is not a soldier that can be captured. It is not a treasure that can be looted. Even a being powerful enough to physically restrain the planet of justice cannot restrain the justice itself. It continues moving, continues arriving, exactly on time, regardless of who currently holds the upper hand on the battlefield. This is why kings throughout the old stories did not fear Shani the way they feared a rival army. An army could be negotiated with. Shani could not. He was not interested in tribute. He was not swayed by temples built in his name overnight, the week before his transit arrived. He responded to one currency only: conduct, sustained over time. After everything, the rejection, the penance, the ash, the dethroned king, it would be easy to remember Shani only as the figure people dread. But look again at every story. He never invented anyone's downfall. He only delivered what had already been built years before he arrived. The king who fell had already made the choices that would make him fall. The god whose son lost his head had already set events in motion that made the glance inevitable. Shani is not the storm. He is the season the storm was always going to arrive in. His own myth makes this almost too literal to miss. A child unfairly judged by his own father grows up to become the only force in the universe that judges without unfairness. The wound becomes the very qualification. That is, in the end, the real reason his name still makes people uneasy. Not because he is unjust, because he is the one being in all of creation who cannot be talked out of the truth. He does not arrive with vengeance. He arrives with arithmetic. And when the account is finally read aloud, every soul, powerful or powerless, devoted or doubtful, discovers the same thing. Nothing was ever truly hidden from him. It was only ever waiting for its turn.